Guard, about. Turn. Quick. Mark. Guard, halt. Guard, left and right. Turn.
God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in times of trouble. And Jesus said, "For I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die."
He said I was his greatest treasure. Every Saturday we would watch the Harvards in the skies practice out front of our house. He loved to anticipate and critique their moves. Many people knew him as a leader, advisor, and when you just needed that moment of plain truth, he would be there to give it to you. He taught me that everyone is an individual with strengths and to look for what makes every person unique. And that's what he followed with his guys. I don't know if you knew what he was doing in the background, but that little magic that he had.
Today I want to talk about two people, my dad and my best friend Joey. Dad was the one who would kiss you better when you fell off your bike, but Joey probably helped you build the ramp you fell off of. Dad was the one to give you crap for doing something dumb, but Joey's watching you outside the window laughing at you doing it. Dad was the one who would wake your butt out of bed in the morning, but anyone who knew Joey knew he was just as bad for it. Dad was the guy who would be there for you at a moment's notice for anyone at any time. Joey, on the other hand, was a half hour late wherever he went, and we would actually lie to him and tell him to be there a half hour earlier so he'd actually be on time. Dad was a great man and a rock to many people. Joey was a great friend and the best partner in crime. I would like to respect Dad's wishes by keeping this short and sweet. He hated long speeches. And thank everyone for joining this on this celebration of his life. I will miss him dearly. Thanks for everything, Dad and Joey.
My dad taught me no matter how bad things got, there are always those going through worse. Dad, I never knew what a broken heart was until this week. As you were there when I came into this world, it was my honor and privilege to be by your side when you passed. I will go on as you would have wanted with the love and support of those you left with me. This month has been the happiest of my life, marrying my husband, as well as my greatest sorrow, losing you. My dad would tell me that in a time like this, Josh, the sun will go up and the sun will go down, and you will continue on. Any pain or sorrow you have in your heart, this too shall pass. My dad did two things uncharacteristic this week. He showed up to an event on time, and he did something way too early.
I was fortunate to watch Joe grow up through the lens of working with his family in what his dad would call the ambulance business. I was the executive director and his dad was on the board of the Ontario Ambulance Operators Association. Through that role, I came to find personal friendships with many of the ambulance operators of the day. It was that way with the Pember family.
I often called Joe Mr. Pember, and he responded to me, Mr. D'Angelo. Let me tell you why. The reason was, when I first arrived at Oxford, Joe took me around and introduced me to many of the paramedics who would be our new employees. And he introduced me to Bear. He introduced me to Big Blue. And he introduced me to his brother Jay, also a paramedic, as Booger. Afterwards, we went back to the office and said, Joe, we can't call them Bear, Big Blue, especially not Booger. And he asked me, well, why not? And I said, because I want to know how to explain that in front of an arbitrator.
I remember shortly after Joe hired me, Joe told me he needed my help. I know, you guys should be worried. He told me there was a person who had passed away in a hospital and needed to get to the funeral home, but the funeral home didn't have a cot large enough to move the person. But we did. I was a little too new to ask him if he was out of his mind. So sure enough, I went with him to the hospital to help move this large person to the funeral home. I have to say I was a little shaken by the experience. When I asked him, why did we do that? He said, when someone needs your help, and you can help, you just do it. Relationships were that important to him. And that's when I told him, a friend will help you move. A good friend will help you move a body. And that's probably when he and I became really good friends. The Oxford County English Dictionary defines getting pembered as the act of being asked to attend on Joe Pember's behalf a meeting at the last minute that you knew nothing about. I can now safely look at all of you and tell you that you've all been officially pembered.
Joe grew up in a family that we're very familiar with helping strangers in need and the community in which they lived in. Joe literally grew up in a world of paramedics. His mother and father were paramedics, as was his grandfather. There were many nights that Alice, Joe's mother, would pack up the kids and bring them over to the overnight shifts, where the kids would have a sleepover, while EMTs on call would be playing pool down the hall. By the age of 16, he was already dispatching like a pro. Joe was a very bright child who set goals and did not rest until his goals were achieved. He once told his mom he would own a Corvette by the time he was 21, and sure enough, he did.
Attention, officer. Be advised that Oxford County Paramedic Chief Pember 66458, an honored 11th member of Oxford County